Hello, you're welcome to EdTrack Academy. In this lesson, we are going to take a brief revision on how to answer your comprehension questions, how to approach your comprehension questions. What are the tips for you to put into consideration while answering comprehension questions? So I want you to pay attention to these few points I'm going to discuss in this lesson. So by the end of today's lesson, I believe your memory or your knowledge of how to answer comprehension question will be refreshed, and you are going to still be able to pick some other new ideas which will be very useful for you during exam. So I want you to please give me your attention. All right, so the first thing we are going to look into are the methods of reading when you want to answer a comprehension question. The reading techniques, the reading methods. What are the methods you use when you are reading? So, and I have two of them here for the purpose of this lesson. We have the first one, the skimming technique, and the second one, the scanning technique. I believe these two words should not be new to you. I trust you should have heard about them or come across them or see them somewhere. So, do you have any idea about what these two words mean? The reading techniques itself, what does that mean? All right, let's proceed. So, just like I said earlier in this lesson, what we're going to do is just revision, because these are the things you've been exposed to before. So this is just going to be like reminder for you, just to refresh your memory of what you already know about it. So the purpose of skimming technique is to have an overview of the theme of the passage to grasp the overall idea. So when you when you are given the exam quest the your paper, your exam question paper, where you have your passage, after you already calm down, settle down, and ready to start your exam, the first thing you're going to do is to firstly read through the passage. Just a quick reading, yes, a quick reading, just to quickly go through it. Do you get it now? Just to, in order to at least have an idea of what the passage is all about. So that is the purpose of the skimming technique. Then the technique. The scanning technique, that is the method you put into use when you are ready to fish out your answers, when you are ready to answer your questions. So the scanning technique is what you put into use. That is when you read calmly and very attentively, paying attention to each line of the passage, in order to be able to deduce your answers from the passage. So the scanning method is the one you put into use, having gone through your question. Sorry, I missed something. After you have you've put into use the skimming technique, which is for you to quickly read through the passage to just have an idea of what the passage is all about. Having done that, the second step is that you go and take a look at your questions. You read your questions carefully. You read the instruction carefully. So having read your questions carefully, then you go back to the passage and give it a scanning. So the scanning method is put into use after you have already gone through the questions very attentively, like very carefully, that you already have the questions in your mind, you could remember them. Then you go back to the passage and read it thoroughly, paying attention to each line of the passage. So as you are doing that, you will be able to notice the paragraphs where answers are provided to the questions you already you have. So it is through the scanning reading method that you'll be able to pick out the paragraphs and the lines that answer your questions. So um comprehension passage during exam do have three forms of questions. You have direct questions that you will be able to see obviously, questions that their answers are very obvious, they are very clear. You could easily pick them out from the passage. So questions that seem as simple as that you could easily fetch out from your passage are the type of questions that are referred to as questions questions. They are questions that you'll be able to point to pick out their answer is obvious. It is very clear in the passage. It is very easy to pick, very quick for you to pick. So those questions that are as easy as that are referred to as the direct questions. Then we have inferential questions. Inferential questions, the reader would be the one to infer. The word is actually picked from infer. So the reader would be the one to infer the answer to the question. It will not be sufficiently stated in the passage. You will have to be the one to infer, like to fish out yourself, to draw out that answer from your understanding of the passage. The answer will not be sufficiently stated in the passage. It will not be obvious, it won't be clear. You'll be the one to deduce it. I hope you get this. You'll be the one to deduce your answer. So answers that require you giving your putting your thinking into use are the type of comprehension questions that are termed inferential questions. You infer the answer, you infer that meaning, you infer that understanding from the passage without it being overtly stated. I hope you are getting this. So the third phase of questions that we have on comprehension passages are the vocabulary questions. The vocabulary questions are usually based on synonyms or antonyms, or you might be asked to give the meaning of a particular word, like what does a particular word mean? Do you understand? So these are the forms of questions that you would come across in your comprehension questions, and they are all very simple. Now that you already know that some questions will be direct, you will know how to go about it. Then when you have some questions that look somehow tactical, you will be able to know that what you are expected to do is to answer that question with your inferred knowledge, with an idea that you were able to deduce from the passage. So then your vocabulary question, that one is also very clear. You'll be given a word and be asked to give the synonym, or to say its meaning, like to write its meaning. What does it mean? What does a particular word mean? So these are forms of questions that you are likely to come across during your exam while answering comprehension questions. Now I have a short list of steps to answering comprehension questions during your exam. The first one, just like I had explained earlier, is that you should use the skimming method to firstly read through the passage, so that you'll be able to pick the overall idea, the theme of that passage. What is the particular passage all about? You'll be able to pick that through the skimming reading technique. Then having done that, you go back to you read your questions. You go through the questions, you read the questions thoroughly, so as to be able to put them at the back of your mind. Then having read the questions thoroughly, you take the third step, which is what? To go back to the passage and read again using the scanning method. I had explained this earlier. Having read your question, you now go back to the passage, then you read. You read and pay attention to each line of the passage. You read with rapt attention, like you put your mind into it. You give it 100% attention when you are reading. You read it calmly, that you just read through it as you did in the first place. So you have to read it calmly and be very attentive to each um details that are mentioned or that you come across in the passage. And it is through this scanning method that you'll be able to detect the paragraphs where your answers are hidden. Do you get it now? Where your answers are hidden. So then once you are able to do this, then you are almost done answering your question. Then another thing you need to take note of is that you should not invent your own ideas while answering comprehension questions. Do not let what you're going to give, except a question directs you to do that. Except a question asks you to do that. You are not to invent your own ideas into the passage. You are to answer according to what you have read in the passage. Do you get this now? So do not invent your own ideas. You have to utilize the given ideas in the passage. I want you to take note of this. Then the last tip I have for you here is that you do not give more than required answer. Do not act like I too know, like the way people do say, I too know, I too know is a problem, I too know is this problem, you understand? So like do not give more than the required answer. If you are asked to give a sentence to express a particular thing, do not give more than a sentence. Let it be just a sentence. Let your answer be as precise as the question you are asked. Do not let your answer um go beyond what you are asked to give. So you have to take note of this. And yeah, I believe that these 5 tips are really going to help if you really put them at the back of your mind during your exam, and put them into practice before you start your exam. All right, so now let's proceed. Okay, now so I want us to take a sample comprehension passage. So we are going to read this passage and attempt the questions that are given on it together. So let us read through the passage. What is the first method for us to put into use? Yes, that is the skimming method. And the skimming method says what? We have to just read through. We give it a quick reading. We read through it very quickly. So let's do that. Oh, and let me tell you, you are not to be reading out. Like, you shouldn't be like this. Since the building of the district hospital at Bota, they had been. No, you don't read like that. You'll be distracting others in the examination hall if you read like that. That'll be very, very distractive. So you have to read with your mind. Yes, that's how you'll be able to to give it the desired attention. You don't read out as if you are reading newspaper to someone. Do you get it now? So you read with your mind. So now let us put our skimming method into use. Let's start now. All right, now we are done reading the passage, giving it a quick reading. Now let's go through our questions. Sorry, I already added the answers here, but then let us just put the tips into use. Let us read through the question. Question number one, question number two. All right, so these are the questions. So let us act as if we have not seen the answer and go back to the passage and give it a and read it using the scanning technique. So it is not the first page. Yes, this is the first page. All right, now so let us go back and start answering our questions. This is question number one. When were the residential structures built at Kuta? Do you remember that I said our questions could take three forms? It could be a direct question, it could be inferential, and it could be vocabulary. So all these three forms of questions are what we have in this passage. So this is our first question. When were the residential structures built at Kuta? So now we are going to see the three forms of questions I mentioned earlier in the questions we have on this passage. The first question, I believe you could see that it is a direct question because that answer is obviously stated in the passage. When were the residential structures built? In the passage we saw it says since the hospital was built. Let us check that. Since the building of the district hospital at Bota, like since it has been built. So our answer is going to be what? After the hospital had been built. So this is what answer this particular question. Then question number two, Dr. Grant did not give the plan to Mr. Akwalu because why did Dr. Grant didn't give him the plan? Why? This is a question, inferential question, an inferential question. Why was it not given to him? It wasn't directly stated. So it is an inferential question, and our answer to this question from the passage that we've read is what? The caretaker had the plan Let us read through the second paragraph. Our answer is found in the second paragraph. So second paragraph to the third paragraph. Alright, so Dr. Grant did not give the plan to Mr. Akwalu because the caretaker had the plan. Sorry, there was a mistake in this particular answer, the previous answer that was given to this question. Actually, the question is an overt one. It is a direct question. If we go back to the passage, we will see where Dr. Grant mentioned it, that it is not prudent to give him the plan of the project. So he rather advised Mr. Akwalu to go to the site. So the question is a direct one. Sorry about my mistake earlier. So the question is the direct one. It is over. The answer is very overt. It is very obvious in the passage. So our answer here is that it's because it was not a wise thing to do, and that was why Dr. Grant did not give the plan to Mr. Akwalu. So Dr. Grant himself said it is not prudent. It is not prudent to give him the plan of those sites. All right, so let us proceed to the next question. That's question number 3. What did Mr. Akwalu do when he was ready to build a house? This is a direct question. It is a question whose answer is very obvious in the passage. The answer is clearly stated in the passage, so it is a direct question. So in our answer for that is he looked for the plan of the house. So when he wanted to build his own house, he looked for the plan of those houses he admired. So now here we have the vocabulary question. Yes, vocabulary questions are to test how rich your vocabulary capability is, like how developed is your vocabulary. So, and the word we are to give its meaning in this question is the word magnificent. Magnificent, what does it mean? It means beautiful. Another word for it is elegant. We could also use noble. So all these words are synonymous to the word magnificent. So this question number 4 is a vocabulary question. So now to the last question we have here. One particular cluster of houses struck the fancy of Mr. Akbalu. This is an inferential question. It means what? You are given this, but you are to what? You are to interpret it by yourself. You have to interpret it by yourself. So it means what? It means that Mr. Akwalu found the house attractive. It means that he found the house attractive. So I hope the tips are going to be very useful for you during your exam. I believe it's definitely they are definitely going to help. So you should start putting them into practice before you go into your exam, or make sure you attempt um more past questions, and be very rest assured that if you give in your best, definitely you're going to have the best result. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the very best in your forthcoming exam.